Today's lesson is going to be on subtraction using distance apart. So they're giving you several different strategies so that in the end you can choose which one works best for you. Question 1 is going to utilize a number line, but it will do it in a bit of a different way. So they are going to have you say 1 and 6. So I've changed up the numbers for A, B, C, and D. 1 and 6 are blank units apart. So you can start by finding those two numbers. So this will be a slightly different order. So we would find 1 and we would find 6. So it's not that we're finding 1 and moving 6 places, but we're finding 1, finding 6, and then seeing how many spaces are between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, which means they are 5 units apart. I can do the same thing with 8 and 15. So here's 8, and here's 15, and the distance between is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they are 8 units apart. 14 and 18, I know there'll be a little bit of overlap, so I'm just going to put it up a little bit higher. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 different spaces between them. And then finally we have 6 and 14. So if we look there, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 units between them. Question 2 is going to get you to use the information from question 1 and write each of their statements as a subtraction question. So when you're figuring out which order to put it in, we're going to start with the bigger number minus the smaller number equals the answer, which is like the distance apart. So if we look at our first question, we have 1 and 6. So the bigger number, because we want to subtract the smaller number from the larger number, so our larger number goes first, minus our smaller number equals our distance apart, 5. Then we'll go through the same steps for B. So we want the smaller number subtracted from the larger number. So we need to start with our bigger number, 15, minus our smaller number, 8, equals, and we have written 8 here, but you probably have already figured out that I must have gotten this wrong, because that should be 7. And yep, notice that I went to 16 instead of to 15. So it's actually only 7 units away. For question C, we'll go bigger number, 18, minus smaller number, 14, equals distance apart, 4. And finally, we have question D, bigger number, 14, minus smaller number, 6, equals distance apart, 8. Question 3 is very similar to question 1, except for now we're going from negatives and positives. So the first question we were just looking at positive integers. This time we have both. So if we look at negative 6 and 3, so here's negative 6, and 3 is going to be positive 3 because it does not have a negative sign in front of it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces. Then I can look at my next question. Negative 4 and positive 4. So here's my negative 4 and my positive 4. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces apart. Question C is negative 9 and negative 3. So these are both going to be on the negative side. And we'll see how many spaces apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And finally, -7 and +3. So -7, +3 is already there. Distance between is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units apart. Question 4 is once again going to be very similar to question 2, but we'll look, and so we're subtracting the smaller number from the larger number. So it's going to be the same order, where we start with the bigger number. So if we look at -6 and 3, 3 is further to the right on the number line, so it is the bigger number. So that's what we'll start with. We'll go 3 minus -6 equals, and our distance apart. So it's just going to still be positive. That's why we're doing it in this order. So for B, we have -4 and +4. So +4 is bigger. It's farther to the right on the number line. So 4 minus -4 equals 8, because that's our distance apart. For C, -9 and -3, they're both negative, but -3 is further to the right from -9. The one that's to the right is always bigger. So we'll start with -3 minus -9 equals 6, because that's our units apart. And then finally, -7 and +3. 3 is bigger, minus -7 equals 10 units apart. Question number 5 has slightly confusing numbers or instructions. But basically what they're saying, they've got like a minus b and b minus a are opposite integers because it equals 0. So basically what we're saying is, if a is always the bigger number and b is always the smaller number, when we do a minus b, so bigger number minus smaller number, we get a positive answer. You'll notice that all of our unit apart answers were positive. When we reverse it and we do the smaller number minus the bigger number, it'll be the same numeral, but it will be negative. So you'll use the same number, but you will change the sign. I have written 2 sets of questions here that we can use their steps to solve. So their first step is to subtract the smaller number from the bigger number using distance apart. So if we look at the top number in each set of equations, the smaller number comes last. So if you wanted to use distance apart, you could use your number line, or sometimes I kind of make partial number lines. So I go, okay, I need number -4, and I need to end up at +5. So somewhere in the middle, I'm going to have 0. So it'll take me 4 spaces to get from -4 to 0, and 5 spaces to get from 0 to 5. So together that's going to be 9 spaces. Okay, that's our distance apart. Then for the second part, it says to subtract the larger number from the smaller number, so that's why 5 is at the end, by changing the sign. So our number will stay the same. It will still be 9, but now it will be -9. Okay, so we can do the same thing here. If we have -10 and -3, it doesn't cross 0, right? 0's over here. So the distance between here is 7. So we have 7, and then when we reverse the order, we change the sign. So now it's -7. For question number 6, I'm just going to recommend that you do a quick refresher on what we said here, that when you subtract the smaller number, you get a positive answer, and when you subtract the bigger number, you get a negative answer. Question 7 is basically putting all of these pieces together. The first step is to decide which integer in the question is larger to help you choose the sign. So if we look at A, we have -6 and -2. -2 is further on the number line to the right, so it is our bigger number. So when we subtract our larger number, that means that we will end up with a negative answer, right? When we have the larger number at the end, we get a negative answer. Then, so that's our choosing the sign. Then we'll put the distance apart. So if you think of -6 to -2, it's on the same side of 0, so we don't have to cross it, so they are 4 apart. So our answer would be -4. The second one, 9 minus -3, our larger number is 9. So when the larger number is at the beginning, our answer is positive. Then we can look at our distance apart. So our smaller number is -3, our larger number is 9. 0 is in the middle, so it will take us 3 spaces to get from -3 to 0, and 9 spaces to get from 0 to 9, so together that is 12 spaces. So the answer is positive 12. There will be a Google form attached to this assignment so that you can show what you know, but please do not hesitate if you're finding this tricky to reach out and we can set up a Zoom call so that I can help you with this lesson.